This lesson explains the principles of scheduling a greenhouse crop. After completing this lesson, you will understand the necessity and importance of scheduling greenhouse crops. You can describe and follow the process for creating a schedule, including getting the information you need. You will know the importance of early planning and all the factors to be considered in scheduling. Most greenhouse crops, especially ornamentals, have to be ready to meet a specific demand such as a holiday or a customer order, or to have material ready daily over an extended period such as for spring bedding plant sales. The plants have to be at a desired stage of development and in a high-quality state by the shipping or selling date. Planning ahead is an essential part of scheduling to make sure that you give the appropriate amount of time to each stage of development of the plant. Scheduling starts with knowing the production time for each stage of development. This information is often provided by the producers of the seeds, plugs, or cuttings, and you may also be able to use an online search to get the information. When the information is not available, use your experience with a similar crop or ask other growers in your area who have grown it. We will be using petunias as the example bedding plant crop for scheduling. From a growing guide or your experience, you determine how long it takes to get the seed or cutting to the transplant stage, if they are to be transplanted, then the time it takes to get it to finish. To schedule, you start with the date you want the plants to be ready and then work backward. The start date is the total production time subtracted from the final date. The poinsettia cuttings on the right in the picture were started in July to have them ready for Christmas sales. Staging is the term used when having plants ready for several different dates. This is done by staggering the start date. On the left are mums ready to be sold about 1 week apart. On the right are bedding plants at several stages of readiness. The production time for a crop is not the same all the time. You have to keep in mind that seasonal climate changes will affect the growth of greenhouse plants. Production time is longer in the winter than in spring because of changing day length and temperatures, which impacts the greenhouse environment too. You allow more or less time for production depending on the time of year. This is an example of a schedule for producing a bedding plant petunia crop wanted for sale on May 5th and 19th and June 2nd. Using a guide for petunia production, you get the information for how long it takes for seeds to get to the transplant stage, then how long it takes to finish the transplants. Note that a range of dates is given. This allows you to adjust for seasonal changes. Looking at the 3 sales dates in the guide information, start with the earliest sales date, May 5th, and determine how long it will take for the seeds to get to the transplant stage, and then from transplant to finish. Because this is your earliest date and you will be starting at the earliest in the winter, choose the longest time for both seedling, development, and finish, 43 and 56 days respectively, and then add up the total, in this case 99 days. Do the same with the other sales dates, but reducing the length of time for each one, using the middle time in the range for May 19th and the shortest time for June 2nd. As you gain experience with the crop over years and keep good records, you may be able to fine-tune scheduling even more closely. One thing to remember, as indicated by the asterisks in the schedule, be aware of when scheduled activities fall on a Saturday, Sunday, or holiday, as you may want to make adjustments for that. Scheduling for taking a crop from finish from unrooted or rooted cuttings is done the same way. Other very important considerations are having all materials available on time and keeping costs as low as possible. Materials include plants and seeds, containers, media, fertilizers, pesticides, and other materials needed for production. In general, you are ordering materials at least 1 year in advance. This reduces the risk of the product not being available and often gives you an early order discount. Small growers often combine their orders with other greenhouses to get a volume discount too. Do not forget to plan for the space you will need and when you will need it. Young plants can be placed close together, but as they grow they will need to be placed further apart for good growth. Moving can be labor intensive, so a minimum number of moves is best. Thank you for listening to this lesson. Funding for this project was provided by the United States Department of Agriculture.